So in today's video, it's going to be a little bit different. I want to have a bit of a more open conversation to have our thoughts on why, Australian property prices have been growing the way they have. There's no hard statistics. It's more of our understanding of the economy, our understanding of being in the property market for a number of years. So, I really thought of this question because I'm in the process of trying to buy a property at the moment, and I've been looking through these properties, researching, and it's been very interesting to see the historical movement of these properties over time. So this was just one of the random properties that I was given and was researching on. And looking at the history, it's just crazy to think that property prices have increased so much over the years. And I've also been seeing these little funny memes that have been popping up everywhere about, if only when we were a baby, we bought property, we would be millionaires by now. But yes, unfortunately, we were wasting our time growing. But yes, so in looking at the historical change of property prices over time, really asked the question, why have prices have been growing the way they have over the years? And I think if we go back to first principles with pricing in general, we look at economics, that's demand and supply. And simplistically with demand, more people wanting to buy property, that's obviously driven by, say, population growth. So a lot of people wanting to migrate to Australia and whatnot. And then also on the other side, we have supply. So generally, supply hasn't been able to keep up with this population growth. And hence, with those two forces combined, it's been driving up property prices over time. But I also wanted to kind of dig deeper into that. And I really think underlying demand as well, we have affordability and how people have actually been able to afford these prices. And I think over time, you also think about the changing nature of households. So initially, back in the day, it would have traditionally been the husband being the breadwinner. And so there will only be one source of income for that household. But, now we have more examples where the woman is also working. So we have that dual income. We could also have children who've been also contributing to rent. So overall, that overall household's ability to afford houses has increased. So they've been able to actually afford these crazy amounts in property prices. So it does kind of make sense from an affordability point of view. So to ask, like, Andrew, do you have any other interesting insights or hypotheses why house prices have been increasing over the years?
100%. I think as well, in 2000, Sydney had the Olympics, and I really think that really put Australia onto the world's map because the Olympics were so great. It shone a light down under and basically put Australia on the map. So I think from that point, for someone who lived in Western Sydney, I also saw that transformation happen pretty quick after the year 2000. While I was going through high school, there's a lot of infrastructure that was getting upgraded, like not just Sydney Olympic Park, but all the roads to get out to the west, shopping centres, people were coming in. So I think the fact that Australia was on the map, there was all this demand coming from overseas, which has sort of fueled the lifestyle that we have down here. And people from the other parts of the world see how great Australia is, and they want to move down here or to invest down here as well. So I think coupled as well with the cost of credit. So when you look at all of these price movements, that you can see based on your graph that, or based on your chart, that it's really gone up from the year 2002 to 2016. So a few things I think that were happening between that point as well. You had massive amounts of credit up until 2008 when there was a GFC. So up until that point, things were going pretty fast. They sort of came back between 2009 to 2012, just while the GFC sort of unfolded, everything started to recover, and things were starting to get it back on track as well. And then there was another sort of big ramp up in rates as well, and so rates started to go up again, and then house prices started to sort of drop back again. And I think there's that relationship between the cost of credit, housing supply, and actual price growth. So I think those three things put together is what determines where prices are going. I do agree with your fact as well that there's more people within the household now that are contributing to the actual household budget. Like you said, previously it was only one person working. Now there's two. Sometimes there's three or four. So I think all of these factors put together is what's sort of fueling house prices to go up. And yeah, the international demand from especially our Asian partners, China, Indonesia, all those countries where there is heaps of wealth. They have to park that wealth somewhere, and Australia is a very safe bet when it comes to parking that wealth and those dollars or those wands or whatever currency they have. They're very safe in Australia. So I think all of those things put together is what's sort of causing house prices to go up.
Yeah, definitely some great points there. One of them was you pointed out about like infrastructure, and I think you forget how young, Australia is in terms of economy compared to the rest of the world. So, it's kind of like a baby in that respect. And, with it growing its infrastructure and growing its cities and stuff like that, it's really been able to really put Australia on the world map and really make it a place that people actually want to go to. We have a lot of people who actually want to get into our borders. It's not the other way around. It's such a desirable place to live. And hence, when it becomes more desirable, the demand is there. And like you said, even with the rich, Asian countries around us as well, I feel like Australia's economy has always been a safe place. It's been not as adversely affected by different things that happen on a global scale. We've been quite protected in a sense. Obviously not immune, but we don't feel it as adversely. So we're definitely an attractive place to be. And yeah, I think we live in a great economy, and we're very lucky and blessed to live here. So yeah, definitely can see why people will want to live and park their money here. So the other question was, will prices to continue to go up? We've seen them go to these levels where people think it's somewhat unaffordable, and yeah, is there basically more room to go? And I think revisiting, demand and supply from a demand perspective, I think Australia continues to shine as a desirable place to live. So with more population around the globe wanting to come to Australia, I think that will continue to fuel up prices. And perhaps from a supply point of view, I think, currently we have supply constraints with building and whatnot, but, potentially that could be affected by, pre-made homes, being able to kind of pump out these tiny homes and whatnot. But I also think from a tiny homes perspective, it also, goes back to demand. Do people actually want to live in these tinier homes or these prefabricated homes and whatnot? And I think in Australia, we do love our land and we do love our lifestyle. And so the great Australian dream is to have your own house and land. So I think that will be a very hard sentiment to ever change. So do I think prices will continue to go up? I still think so. I still think there's a lot of room to grow in the future. And yeah, I think also there will just be a bigger divide between the ultra rich. And so I think potentially the middle class will eventually not be able to afford these prices, but with the greater emergence of, more millionaires in the economy and whatnot, they will still be, demanding or bidding on those prices between them, and that will continue to drive up prices. So yeah, I can still see them going up, unfortunately.
I'm a bit on the fence with this one at the moment.
Mm.
I do think that supply will have to catch up, and because the prices are so high, it does make it profitable for builders and for people to start building homes and to also develop land that they have. So I think supply will definitely catch up soon, or hopefully catch up soon. I think the biggest limiting factor is going to be whether population growth continues to be the same. I still think that population growth will be cut by the government if they want to win the next election, because I think everyone agrees that there's just been too many people coming through too fast. So I don't think we don't want migration. I just think we need to have it in a bit more structured way, as in, have enough hospitals, have enough schools, have enough of everything before we let everybody in. Because at the moment, I think the system's more or less at breaking point. So
Mm.
I think the government will definitely have to do something before the next election, which is next year. Otherwise, they probably won't be in power. So I think if they do that, as well with rates where they are, if something goes wrong overseas and there's a liquidity trap in terms of not much cash flying around because there's GFC or there's some sort of wars, or the wars get bigger or something like that, I think all of those things put together is going to cause a perfect storm. So I don't think prices will, collapse or crash. I just think they're going to sort of hover a bit while these other factors around it sort of catch up. So I think in the near term, I don't see things going up much more. I think they're sort of going to be stable. But I think, of course, if you're looking 30 years away, that's a different kettle of fish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting. And yeah, I guess there's different opinions on the short term and the long term as well. So yeah, I guess there's a lot of different factors that people need to take into consideration when they start buying property. So yeah, so that concludes today's video. A bit of a different feel, a bit of an open discussion. If you like these kind of videos, feel free to drop us a message. And if you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, drop us a message as well. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.